Is your team still doing manual tasks like managing your ads, building email flows, finding influencers, or checking out competitors to see what they're doing well and not well? Well, unfortunately, you're wasting hours of precious time because you can automate these things away with Claude Cowork. And that's been my big aha moment that I've been obsessed with this past year. See, we're testing this with Neat. This is the brand we acquired. It was doing $9,000 a month. We've now scaled it to 6 figures per month. But our goal is, how can we grow this with AI? So we're using Claude Cowork to handle lots of this work automatically. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how we're pulling that off. And I'm going to get pretty specific on 7 skills we're using that has allowed us to actually get better results and, more importantly, get our time back. So we're cutting down on wasted ad spend and getting more done without having to hire people and manage people. So each one of these is a simple skill that you can implement right after this call. I'll give you a link to that as well. So let's dive in. Let's talk about how Cowork can actually run and manage your ad account while you're sleeping or while you're doing other things. So we all know one of the most time-consuming things in e-commerce isn't necessarily strategy, but it's the daily monitoring of all the things. And ads is a big one. It's the kind of work that never stops demanding your attention, and it really matters. So every single day you need to know what ad sets are working or starting to fatigue, which ones have room to scale. Are you underspending? Are you overspending? Or should you shift budgets? What ad creative is working that could inspire the next set so you can really scale? And the problem is that by the time you've done all of that, you spent 2 to 3 hours in the ads manager and you haven't been able to do real work, right? And you haven't built a thing. And if you skip it, even for a couple days, a dying creative could keep spending. Budget starts going in the wrong direction and your cost per acquisition goes up before you even notice, and you're in reactive mode. So this is exactly what this Cowork skill solves. And this is kind of the key use case. So this allows me to connect directly to my ad performance data, and it runs this full audit for me every single day without me touching it. It reviews the overall setup and spend, how we're trending. It looks at creative performance across my entire account, and it starts to flag what's working, what's not working, so we don't risk wasting ad dollars. From there, it's telling me specifically which ads and ad sets have room to scale and where my budget should move. And it's doing based on the framework we use to run ads. And on top of that, it's recommending what that next round of creative should be, so I can start to have really fruitful conversations with our design team based on current winners, what's working, what's not working like it used to. And it helps create that pipeline so we can get ahead of our content roadmap. So let me show you what that output actually looks like. I go into Claude and it's scheduled to do my meta ad audit. And you kind of see over here the different steps that it does as it gets access to the ad manager and it starts to go through it. And again, this is all in the Chrome browser. So first, I always want to know what are the 3 must-have, must-know things I need to do that it lays out right here. But here's the detailed one for when I have time to go deeper, is getting that executive summary to understand here's how much we spent, our blended cost per acquisition, and the overall budget that we're doing each day. And now it's giving me those insights that I usually have to dig in for, which is ideas around creative fatigue alerts. Knowing how things are trending is key. Also, on the positive side, where are the scaling opportunities? And then what are the recommendations it's making for budget? And for this one, it's actually wanting to keep the budget, but take it away from campaigns that are underperforming and push it into campaigns that are doing really well that can scale, like the UK ads, United Kingdom, and the ads in the USA. But this is the one that I think our team likes the most, is it's looking at the creative and starting to tell us ideas on what to do, again, based off the data. So it's talking about changing the hook on our Sweat Monster video. It's talking about doing new statics for the BOGO because the frequency is so high at over 3.5%. And then we have an appendix with the full data. So this, again, just gives us firepower. And this took 5 seconds. And if I want to go deeper, I can, or I can action this as I'm going into my next ad meeting. Okay, I want to talk about a very underrated skill that could give you superpowers when it comes to making ads. It's building ads from Reddit complaints and competitor reviews. One of the most common reasons why ad creatives don't convert is simple. It's because they're built off of assumptions the team has about the customer and not about what the customers actually say or do. So that means brands are writing ad copy and doing creative based on what they think their customers want to hear. But here's the problem. We're all so deep into our business and our product, we're missing the point here, right? And so we're essentially guessing, and guessing can get really expensive fast when you're paying for every single click. So what's the fix? It's simple. The fix is to go where your customers are, where your competitors' customers are, where they already talking, and pull copy straight from their voice, from where they're happy, where they're unhappy, where they literally say what they're looking for. That's the whole idea behind this workflow. And that's exactly why we've built it, to help give our ads superpowers so they will speak the language of the customer and convert. So let me walk you through this. Now, before I walk you through it, what we used to do was we'd have virtual assistant or someone would be very caffeinated and they're mining Reddit, they're going to Google reviews, YouTube comments, and trying to pull this data. It's very time consuming and very manual. Now we can pull that off with Claude Cowork and the click of one button. So it's essentially like a 3-step process. Step 1 is mining reviews, where Cowork will start to pull open reviews of your product, your competitors' products, and it crawls Reddit to see where people are the most frustrated. And let me show you what that looks like with how it's accessing my dashboard. So here's what's happening. Step 1, you see how you have Claude MCP, Claude's right here. It's going into my browser. So it's typing things around sweatproof shirts, just trying to see the conversation. So it's going to Reddit. It's then going to YouTube to do this. You can see it's actually going to Thompson Tees to look at the different reviews that people say, just to understand the conversation. So that's step 1. The second thing that it's doing, it's now going to the Facebook ad manager and it's starting to look at different templates of ads that we have done, that our competitors are doing, to get inspiration on where the different voice of customer insights and research can then be applied to some of the most innovative and most recent ad formats, so they know the character count to lead with and how to structure the ad hooks. Okay, this third step is where it gets magical, at least it did for me. So we've done voice of customer, we've mined the internet to see what people are saying about the category of our shirts, our competitor shirts, what they like, what they don't like. We've then looked at the top ad structures of creative by going to the ad library. Now, because Claude Cowork connects with Figma, it starts to pitch me on different ad concepts that you can see right here that it wants to write based off of the study. And then it's going to start making those. So here are the ad concepts it pitched. It gave me the copywriting, the hooks that it wants to do. And then watch this. It went into Figma and it started designing them. And again, it knows our brand book. It knows everything that we want. And now if I simply go to my folder, I can see all of these assets. So here's one concept where it does comparison before neat, after neat. Your closet doesn't have to be all black. This is amazing because one of the issues that it constantly saw was people have to wear black because that's the best way to hide sweat. Now with neat, you can wear colors. Let's look at another example. This is another example where they talked about trying everything from different deodorants to sweat pads and then finding shirt and wearing it with that aha moment. This actually isn't bad and that looks somewhat like the shirt. All right, let's go to another one. There was skepticism is one of the big issues people have until they try it. So didn't believe it would work like in the video, but it does. Pretty wild tech for a t-shirt. This is one of the testimonials we have that addresses one of the biggest concerns. Let's look at some more. One other big use case is around golf. 9 holes in July, Florida heat, 0 visible sweat on my polo. This is a really good one. All right, the final one, showing comparisons, the old way, the neat way. Stop wearing 2 shirts to solve 1 shirt problem. These are pretty good. Our designer's probably gonna have some opinions to tweak it, but my goodness, this gave us a head start. All right, now real quick before we keep going, if you're watching this and you want a team to handle the execution side of growing your brand for you, as well as implementing some of these similar systems inside of your brand, there's a link at the top of the description below to do a free strategy call. And we can walk you through what it would look like for your brand specifically if you wanted our help. But either way, let's keep going and go through a few more skills. Let's talk about the next skill, which is around influencers. So we all know having a solid pipeline of influencers and creators is one of those things that's so impactful. It sounds simple and straightforward until you actually try and do it and you realize how time consuming it is, right? First, searching for the right creators is a beast of the project, and then vetting their engagement to see if their follower count engagement is true, finding the contact information, writing the personalized message, and then eventually sending them the product and going back and forth on the script. It's exhausting. Most brands either skip this step entirely, do it inconsistently, or they overpay for someone else to do it. And you're not really building any momentum in a cost-effective way. And this is where Claude Cowork really excels, if you can give it the right criteria to run this process for you. So I want to show you the skill we created that we use to mine Instagram and to mine a platform like Join Brands to find the right creators. So let me show you what that looks like real quick. Okay, so I'm kind of showing you the skill that we run and how it works, right? So the first thing is giving it context on your brand and that ideal creator or influencer you're going after, other brands that they might be talking about, some guardrails as far as the range of follower count based on what you're willing to potentially pay, right? And then from there, it's starting to do search. And this is where you can customize it based on a platform like Join Brands or going to Instagram directly. And so from there, it's starting to find the right people, and then it's building an actual database or list. And here are the things that we wanted to have in that directory. That way we can easily mine through it, right? And then one other big thing is with this sheet, make it something that I can easily export or automatically goes into your Claude folder or can integrate with Drive. And then go ahead and do the personalized outreach to give it the script and the template, or you could do that after this step. But we basically give it the framework that we want, but also customizes it so it feels pretty personal. And then the other thing that you can do is connect this into your Gmail to do the outbound, or you could do it with some other email tool. Now let's talk about a skill where you can turn Klaviyo into a retention engine, and you can do it with Claude. So there's a good chance your email account, your Klaviyo account has a lot more revenue in it than you're currently pulling out, right? The flows are a big troublesome point where people can optimize those better. The segments exist, but nobody has the time to go through all of it properly and figure out what's actually working and what isn't. So those underperforming flows that you haven't touched in a while, they just keep running. High value segments go untouched. And these customers that lapse, they go dormant, they don't hear from you again, right? So that's money that is just kind of sitting there in the ecosystem in your CRM that you haven't captured yet. Why? Because you're busy doing a bazillion other things. So what Cowork does, it connects directly with Klaviyo, and it can do it through the connector. So it can run the audit for you and potentially make those updates. So here's what it looks like. Let me show the skill that we've set up to run anytime we take on a new account or to run on a monthly or quarterly basis. Okay, so here's a skill that we ran. And again, we had it connected to our email tool Klaviyo so it could get in there. It's very easy to connect. It's literally the click of a button and then you authorize it. And so what's amazing about this, it gives you the executive summary as far as where you're at, where you need to work. And here's what I really like. It talks about the potential monthly upside of found money. And so it's looking at some of those KPIs where you're at, and then it gives those opportunities of where you could focus. And for this account, it was specifically on the post-purchase upsells and the segmentation, right? And so then it's going flow by flow, kind of prioritizing where you should begin. But it doesn't stop there. It's looking at the campaign performance as well for those overall sends that you're doing. And then it's telling you the segments you need to create and you need to focus on. Then it's giving that prioritized roadmap as far as quick wins and what to rebuild. But where it gets really good, it's even drafting the emails for you on what you should be saying and what you should be doing. This has been amazing to basically have an email specialist in your back pocket that can do something that used to take you weeks that you can do in minutes. Let's talk about the skill around reverse engineering any competitor's entire funnel. Now, figuring out what a competitor is doing well, it used to mean spending hours doing manual research and honestly not really figuring it out, and then it would become dated. So you would go through their website page by page, you're screenshotting ads that you see on Instagram or within the ad library, you're reading through reviews, and you're just trying to piece together the strategy of what's their positioning, what's their offer, what's really working, right? But by the time you're done, you spend half a day and you still weren't 100% sure on if you can trust the information. So what we've been doing instead is running all of that through Claude Cowork in a single session, and it honestly pulls more than we ever could doing it manually. So the way you do this is you pull simply the URL of your competitors so it can go through the entire funnel. And let me show you exactly how we pull this off. All right, what I'm showing now is essentially the teardown we do to look at a competitor side by side with our own brand. So again, it's a simple skill that's a competitor funnel teardown, and it'll even ask which competitor do you want to do a full teardown, and how would you like the insights? Do you want it to be in a shareable doc you could give to the executive team? So as I answer that, over here on the right, you see the steps that it goes through. So it's going to go through the full website, looking at pricing, positioning, different things that it's doing. It'll then go to the ad library to really start to understand the positioning that it's doing with ads. It'll go through Google reviews, and then it does a gap analysis. And what does that mean? Essentially seeing what they're doing well, what you're doing, and where's the gap as far as opportunities where you can really have an impact with your brand. Okay, and this is something that we have that goes into our Google Drive folder, but I'll scroll through it here so you can see it. It basically gives the executive summary on what you need to know when comparing this brand to your own brand. But what I really like is it starts to go through this objective party talking about what they're doing really well, where their opportunities for improvement are, right? As far as the structure of the website, it's going from the top of the funnel homepage to the product page and the cart, and it's showing their pricing, their bundles, their offers, how are they cross-selling. So you really get into the mind of that decision journey they're pushing someone down and how they're activating. And then we're showing you all the different pricing so you know how you can really compare when it comes to pricing, if you're trying to be the cheapest or if you're always willing to be premium compared to who you're going up against. Also things like free shipping, how they're doing it at different levels. Then it's getting into the ad volume. Like, so example, this company, they're doing 190 active ads right now. So they're heavily testing creative, right? And so that gives us insight into really how they're scaling and deploying things. But you see the constant taglines and offers they're doing throughout the ads. For example, these guys are doing discounts of up to 43%. They're doing BOGOs, giving away free products, pushing bundles very aggressively. And then we look at review sentiment. You can see what people like about the product, also what they don't like about it. Inconsistent sizing, AI-based support. And then it gives the gap analysis, basically where we can win, where we're losing, and where to compete. Everything from the value proposition to the guarantee to the offer to the core messaging in their ads. But then we took it a step further and basically called it like an attack plan. If we're trying to take market share, what are those playbooks we should deploy? So it really talks about where a brand might be weak and how that could be your strength. If anything, this just gives fuel to the fire and ideation as we're building our strategy, especially when you're going after an incumbent. Search engine optimization content really compounds over time if you invest in it early, right? But getting it off the ground requires a lot of work, and it's not very rewarding because it takes a while. It's a lot of research, copywriting, strategy, analysis, and then planning for when you're putting the content out there. So figuring all of that out on what to write, what to rank for, where to compete, where not to compete, it's a long process. You're using lots of different tools and technologies to really figure it out. If you do it manually, you're usually having a dedicated resource or even an agency, right? Most brands are outsourcing this, and you can wait months before you see those deliverables, and sometimes they don't get you the results that you want. But when we started running this with Cowork, we got all this done in a single working session. We had an unfair advantage because we know how to do this system, but we could take away a lot of the man hours. So the way we're running it is having it analyze the content of our top 5 competitors, looking at our existing content, and then basically mapping out where we want to play, where we don't want to play, and then making the SEO focused content strategy around that initial research. So let me show you what that looks like. So first I'm showing you the full analysis where it's given the strategy, and you can see what's happening right now. It's actually executing on that strategy and giving me the actual blog post. But here's the first part, which is the research section, where you're about to see 25 different keyword categories it's going through to see where we should compete, like best undershirts for 2025 or 2026, sweat-proof shirts that work. These are high intent searches that really make sense for our categories, right? Shirts that don't show sweat. Then there's another category of content that's not as much high intent, but it's informational aware, like why do I sweat so much? How to stop excessive sweating. These aren't necessarily buyer intent, but it's people at top of the funnel that would eventually want our product, right? The right deodorants to use with too much sweating. Okay, as we go down this, then you're at more of the bottom of funnel keywords where you're doing comparison, Thompson T alternatives, need apparel reviews, comparison of different brands, right? Then you have lifestyle ones, best shirts for hot, humid weather. So it's going through all these categories, really trying to figure out what makes sense for us. And this is what I also like, AI-based search. What would go really well for people that aren't going to Google, but they're going to ChatGPT, Perplexity, and different LLMs to figure out where to get the solution for what we offer. And so from that, it's prioritizing a roadmap of where to begin, right? And it's also doing it on tiers of high impact, medium impact to low impact. And then what I really like is we get the prioritization of things, and then it's talking about the technical recommendations it would recommend for our website as well. So it's not just content, but it's what to do on the actual website. And so we have this whole plan here, and then what's generating right now is the actual roadmap where it's going to start to do everything. And again, this was with the simple prompt of just telling it our brand and competitors, and it's able to happen in seconds rather than days. Now I want to talk about turning one product photo into 10 ad variations. So a lot of the time when it comes to testing a new batch of ad creative, the bottleneck is always the same. It's going from your idea to a finished asset. It just takes way longer than it should. If you're the strategist or the strategist, they have the idea in their head of the angles they want to test, but briefing the designer, going back and forth on concepts, and getting to the final asset can take a little bit longer than you want unless you're in a really good groove. Even then, you still have that handoff. And while you're waiting on the designer to get it done, you're still running the same ad creative, and you're seeing fatigue set in, and the performance is going down, and it's not working like it used to. So this is the problem we really wanted to solve, is to accelerate the ad creative process. And so when Cowork launched with the Figma connector, that was a huge unlock that allowed us to solve this. So what we do is we use the Figma connector, and it pulls in the existing brand book and designs that we have for a brand. Like Neat has all of our files and assets, and then Cowork starts to generate these creative briefs that we can then use for our design team. And what we found is it can get 80 or 90% of the way there if we do it the right way. So let me show you what that looks like. All right, so what I'm showing here is the first part, which is the brief, where again, it's interviewing me to know what ad creative we want to do, give me the photos so we can start to think through the different ads. So I gave it a simple photo, talked about focusing on the crew neck that we want to sell, not the bundles, wanted to be for the meta feed and for stories. So it started going through that. I also gave it the Figma file where I wanted to be loaded and where we'll be making it. So first it gave me this brief where you can kind of see the context. It's looking at the photo, it's understanding the guardrails of how to make an asset with it, the kind of overlay friendly zones if it wants to put any copy with it. And then it's factoring in the editorial angles that we want to do. It's factoring in the ad hook. It's factoring in the value proposition, the problem we solve, and the use case. And then it's pairing copy with it because it wants to look at it not in a silo, but how it plays to the overall ad strategy, and it's giving different variations. The other thing that I really like, it really stays true to all the brand style guidelines that we have. That way we don't risk it being off brand. And so from here, it has everything that we can then approve, and then we're able to finally say, okay, approve, let's do this. And then you can see some of the ad variations that it made for us. Your pit stains, called, they quit, meeting proof, a gym bag, happy hour. So you get some of the ideas that it's putting together. That way, whenever we're talking to the design team, we're not just giving them a concept, we're giving them a next step to polish something or to elevate something. All right, now if you're running a brand and you want a team to come in and really see what those big levers are that could help you scale and go to that next level, and you want a partner to do it with you, then click the first link in the description below to book a free strategy call to talk with myself or Emma on our team. We've helped multiple brands go from 7 figures to 8 figures, and we've done it by really setting that growth infrastructure to allow them to scale and candidly help them figure out what to focus on and not focus on. So they're going after those high leverage activities. Whether it's from paid ads or retention and content to A/B testing, we handle all of it so you don't have to. Again, you can book a call just by going to the link below and see if we're a good fit. And if you want to see the full course on how we've scaled brands from idea to 10 million plus per year, then watch the next video and I hope you get something out of it.